Hello, students. Now welcome you to the third session, International Institutions and International Relation in general. So, we're going to talk about some of the international institutions today. So, basically, international relation, we cover four aspects every month. This is seventh month. This is December month is going on. So, in the first video, I'll be covering international institutions, specifically European Union in detail. And other than that, in the second video, in the second part of the session, we'll covering country specific news, initiatives and programs, and some bilateral. In bilateral specifically, I'll be discussing India USA for this prelims perspective, right? So I'll be discussing every aspect of the India USA relationship along with some India German thing is going on, right? Okay, let's start. So first institutions we're going to discuss United Nations Specialized Agency, that is Universal Postal Union. So Universal Postal Union is basically one of the oldest organization. So after the ITU, so ITU is the oldest specialized agency of United Nations. After that, Universal Postal Union. So what this agency basically does, it is responsible for the coordination among the countries for postal policies, right? So very easy, the mails, the postal from one country to the other. Now why it was in the news? It was in the news because in October last year, USA, Donald Trump has threatened to leave this Universal Postal Union, right? So he said that the Chinese are, because that is the time of, if you remember last time, trade war time was going on, right? So Trump says that he said that if we do not consider our concerns into mind, we will leave this Universal Postal Union. His main complaint was that it allowed China to pay heavy subsidized rates thanks to system being it is helping developing nation. The whole argument of Trump is like that, right? That China is not a developing country. If China is a developing country, then US is also a developing country, right? So as a result, he said it becomes cheaper for the companies in the China to send merchandise to the US, and that is not applicable to him. He said the money that is, if for example something China sends to US that costs, let's say, $1, he says that within US to the other US state it costs more than $1. So he said within the United Nations it is more costly to send things, then it is less costly to send from China to the US, and that is hurting US, right? So it is hurting American manufacturers. So Trump said that we will leave you, right? But after that, their extraordinary session happened for IPU's extraordinary Congress happened, and finally they have decided, okay, in the September it happened. So finally they decided, okay, fine, we will consider your concern, and they have so finally they have come up with the option 5. So if the question come what option 5 is related to, so option 5 is related to the United Postal Union and US something, right? So finally at the end they have decided that US can set up its own postal rate from July 2020. This much is relevant for us. If the question comes, it will be relatively tougher question, and the question will be on the line of if they can ask you about Universal Postal Union, or they can ask you about the option 5. They can ask you that US is in the US has left Universal Postal Union. The answer will be no. US has not left it. US has threatened last year in the last October, but now they have said no. Will be the part of Universal Postal Union, right? Okay. So talking about specialized agency, I mentioned I've given you specification of a specialized agency. We have discussed a few specialized agency of United Nations. So United Nations specialized agency are different from the United Nations structure itself. In the next month, in the January month, I'll be discussing in detail the United Nations structure, just like I'll be doing European Union this in this particular session. So specialized agency are the legally independent international organization which works with the United Nations through a negotiated agreement, right? They have their own rules, membership, organ, financial resources, right? So they have a United Nations relationship through some agreements. Now many of the institutions we have read, for example, we have read about FAO, we have read about ILO, right? So this time we will read about IMO and Universal Postal Union. We'll try to cover as many as possible which will be in the news, right? We have discussed this World Meteorological Organization. Next time we'll also discuss WIPO. WHO becomes relevant especially in the time of the COVID for pre and means both, right? So this is it, right? Okay. So next specialized agency we want to discuss is IMO, that is International Maritime Organization. So the headquarters you need to remember. So headquarters is in the London. From the name itself, International Maritime Organization. So what will be this task? Task will be to regulate the shipping. Some international convention they will adopt, right? They will make some international law with respect to shipping, right? This is that for safety of the maritime navigation. All these things will be done by this organization. Now, recently it was in the news that India has acceded to the IMO's Green Ship Recycling Treaty, right, for the global standard for safe and environmentally sound ship recycling. So this is IMO, right? So this much is relevant for us because it will be too much to read about all the organization. Just remember one thing, that these are the specialized agency of the United Nations. So there are 17 specialized agency of the United Nations, right? Okay. Next is important one. I've told you that I'll be discussing this Indian Ocean Naval Symposium. So what is this? It's a voluntary regional forum that was started by the India itself, by the heads represented by the heads of the navy of the countries, and started by India in 2008. Okay, so they started it in 2008 and it happens 2 years after interval, alternate year it happens. Okay, so it's a voluntary initiative for what is for the coordination among the navies among the different countries, right? So coordination among the different navies in the literal state of the Indian Ocean region. Now you know I've discussed it many times how India is how India consider Indian Ocean as its strategic backyard, the policy of the string of pearls, how India is countering that. We have discussed many of the ports, Sabang port, we have discussed Duckham port, right? We have discussed small nation diplomacy, Mauritius, Seychelles, all these things we have discussed, Assumption Island, right? So under the INS Charter, now they are not only coordination but for the specific purposes such as maritime security, humanitarian assistance and the disaster relief, information security and interoperability. So these are the arenas of cooperation, right? So this is all. So last time it happened in 2018, 2020 it will happen again. So 2018 it happened in Kochi with the theme was INS as a catalyst for the Sagar. It was important to cover, that is why I have covered it, INS. Next is Global Digital Health Partnership. So in the February 2019, so remember February 2019, India held the 4th session of this particular partnership. That's why it's become important. So you can see I'm covering facts from before as well, especially international institutions. So I'm thinking to cover almost all the relevant international institutions so that you don't have to cover any other source, right? Okay, let's quickly discuss this. So from the name itself, Global Digital Health Partnership. So it's a collaboration of the government agencies, WHO. What was the idea? To set up the digital health service, for example telemedicine and all these things, right? So it provides an opportunity for the transformation engagement between the participant, obviously sharing the best practices, shaping up the policies, and these things are relevant to the digital health. And most importantly the best practices, so that every nation does not have to go hit and trial model. So India has hosted the 4th Digital Health Partnership Summit, right? And this much is relevant for us. Australia started as a host country. Remember that India is a member country of it, and no other country in our vicinity is the member of the Global Digital Health Partnership. Okay, right, let's get to it. Next one is European Union. Now let us discuss European Union a relatively bit in detail. So what will be the things that we'll be discussing? We'll be discussing very basic stuff. What are the different organizations of European Union? We'll try to discover the triangular relationship between some of the major institutes, what a particular institute does mainly, and more we'll try to discuss Schengen area and also Eurozone, but on the very superficial level. What are the countries? And we'll try to remember or see that which are the countries falling in which category, right? European Union becomes important in the context of the Brexit, right? So Brexit, Britain has taken exit from the European Union. Earlier 28 countries, now it has boiled down to 27 countries. So both the Britain and the European Union becomes important, right? So let's start. So the origin of the European Union lies in everybody knows that before 1945 all the countries of Europe were fighting with each other. If you see First World War, if you see Second World War, they're fighting among the another. But finally they have decided that there is no wisdom in fighting the wars. So in 1957 they started as a precursor institution, that is European Economic Community, and after that they have progressed and they matured into a proper organization. Few of the treaties that are need to be remembered, that is first is Maastricht Treaty that came in 1993, right? So they established European Union and European citizenship, right? It created common economic area because initially the engagement starts with the economic union, right? For economic integration, for example, SAFTA for SAARC, right? So we don't have the European level integration, but we started with the starting with the free trade agreement, right? Some common market, custom union, all these things you must have done in economy. Then finally it matures, and finally it reaches to the level of the monetary union and finally the European Union, where they pool the sovereignty, where the member nation give a part of their sovereignty decision making power to the a different organization. So the different organization, if it makes the some decision, it will be applicable to the whole country. So this is called the idea of the pooling of the sovereignty, right? I hope all these the concepts you know. Right, let's start. So European Union, few of the countries which you need to remember, which is not the part of the European Union, is first is this Norway. So Norway is not the part of European Union. Secondly, Switzerland is not a part of the European Union. Now United Kingdom is also not the part of the European Union. So these are the three countries apart from these countries. In the session 2 we will discuss these countries, because 16 plus 1 or 17 plus 1 format we'll discuss, in which all these Eastern European countries we will discuss. Central, or which they are called Central or and Eastern European countries. Okay, right. So which are the countries which are conspicuous by their absence? That is Switzerland and the Norway. Switzerland and Norway are not there, right? Okay. So some of the related organizations. So I already told you about Treaty of Maastricht. Second is Treaty of Lisbon. In 2007 they have got the Treaty of Lisbon. So Treaty of Lisbon is the said to be the new foundational treaty which has made more consolidation of the European Union. It has given European Union more stronger legal character, right? It has strengthened the idea of the human rights, democracy, and given it a more robust structure, right? So the Article 50 of the Lisbon Treaty was in the news. First, the Lisbon Treaty, it says that which jobs or the power are done by the European Union, the Union, and which jobs should be done by the member. So it is the Lisbon Treaty which defines the different parameters, right? Okay. So this is the pooling of sovereignty that I talked about. Now, so Article 50 of the Lisbon Treaty. So earlier it was mentioned in the Lisbon Treaty, it is said it was only 250 words, right? Only 250 words article is there. Now it is being the the most controversial article, because the UK has invoked Article 50 in the Lisbon Treaty to come out of the European Union. So Article 50 says that any member may decide to withdraw from the Union in accordance with its constitutional requirement. It was really vaguely worded, and that is why many of the problems of the Brexit came, because it is very vague, and that is why many concepts like hard Brexit, soft Brexit, all these concepts have come, right? I will try to discuss Brexit, but I cannot promise you that, right? Because that's not too much important from the prelims perspective, rather from the mains perspective. So Article 50 you need to remember of the Lisbon Treaty, that is with respect to the Britain decision to leave EU. Finally, in 2012, European Union was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize also for 6 decades of contribution to the advancement of peace, reconciliation, democracy, and human rights in the Europe. So those countries who have fought for centuries among the one another, they have decided to come together and work for the reconciliation, democracy, and the human rights, right? So if we talk about European Union, now we are discussing Eurozone. So Eurozone are basically group of countries which have considered Euro as their common currency. For example, if the India, Pakistan, and all the SAARC countries decided to consider Indian rupee as the common currency, so that is called as a monetary union, right? Now every country of the European Union is not the member of Eurozone. For example, earlier United Kingdom is not the part of the Eurozone. They have not accepted Eurozone as their common currency. They still had their pound as their main currency, right? So which are the countries? So basically European Union consisted of 27 countries, out of which 19 are the part of the Eurozone. So you can say every country in the Eurozone is a part of the European Union, right? And there are 8 countries which are not the part of the Eurozone. Those are these countries, right? Let us quickly see. Not we have to remember that, but just keep in mind it, right? More importantly, keep in mind the status of the Sweden. Norway, not a member of European Union. Sweden, member of European Union, but not the member of Eurozone. Because these 4 countries are really important, including Denmark, Scandinavian countries. So Sweden, it is a member of European Union, but not the member of the Eurozone. So let us see the countries. Let's start Bulgaria. So Bulgaria, right below Bulgaria, then Romania, then Czech Republic, then Denmark here, then Hungary, Poland, then Romania, done, and then Croatia, right, and Sweden. So these are the 8 countries which is not the part of the Eurozone, but they are part of the European Union, right? So now we will discuss in like short detail, or we'll try to understand different institutions. Now let us start. So these are the citizens of the member state. For example, member state, let us consider Sweden. So Sweden, people of the Sweden, they are the member state. So they will vote twice. First, they will vote for their own parliament, just like we vote for the Indian parliament. So their national parliament will be formed, right? Their ministers will be formed, their head of the states will be formed, right? So these are the member states of the member state. Secondly, they will vote also for the European parliament, right? So one parliament is their own parliament, and second is the European parliament. So these is the 2 times they vote. Right, now the story starts. Now the European Parliament gets its executive, that is European Commission. Getting my point? So that is the executive of the European Parliament. So this is the legislative body and this is the executive body, like a government. So this is a European government, basically European Commission. Now this is the, for you can say, Council of the EU. So these are the European Council. So this is the major point of confusion. European Council is the meeting when the head of the states of every country meets. For example, just like a SAARC meeting, right? So European Council, they meet twice a year, and they consist of the head of the states only. European Council, it consists of the member council of the national minister. For example, the cabinet minister of each nation meets in the Council of European Union. So this is an important body because here the members are there. It is a more of an instructive body. Does not legislate, does not do nothing. It is just a instructive body. Just tell us, okay, these are the priority and something like that. Okay, this is the main body from the member state perspective. This is the body from the perspective of the European Union, right? And the consent of both the organization, Council of Europe, because it represents the individual member state, and the European Union, the whole European Union. The consent of both the organs is required to reach a final decision, right? And this is the European Commission. So it makes an initiative, obviously, because it's an executive body. For example, our cabinet passes an ordinance. So for example, European Commission passes an ordinance. I'm giving example. Or law, proposes a law. So finally these two decide, then it becomes a legally binding agreement on every nation. Getting my point? So this is the triangular thing they have set up. This is called triangular part of things. Quickly, let us revisit the things. So European Parliament and the European Council of EU, right? European Council, the head of the state. So it instructs the Council of the Europe because it is the head of state and it is the cabinet minister. It sends a member to European Commission, and European Parliament institutes and control European Commission. This is the government, right? And finally, these are the different bodies. So major institutions are these 4. Now first starts with the European Parliament. So European Parliament, it sits for 5 years between the election. Just 1 second. It sits for the 5 election, right? Just like we do the election, legislative body, right? So it meets primarily in the Brussels. Okay. So next is UK. Because UK is not part of the European Parliament, so how its seat will be distributed, not relevant to us. No need to study that. European Commission, it is the government. It is set up in the Brussels. So that is called the Brussels bureaucracy, because the major work happens in the Brussels itself. So must have heard of this Brussels bureaucrats. And that is why one of the problems European Union is facing, because everything is happening in the Brussels. Major decisions, major policy decisions are being taken in the Brussels. And the member nations, which are 27 in number, they feel alienated from it. Right? That is currently challenges European Union is facing. The lack of democracy or lack of sovereignty the member country is facing. That is why many of the countries now want to get out of the European Union. At least they are thinking about it, or some parties in the nations are thinking about it. Right. So it submits a proposal for the new legislation for the parliament and to the council, just like for example, current government, Modi government proposes a ordinance or a law to the parliament, then parliament legislates on it, and obviously it implements, then administers the budget, because it's the same task that is performed by the executive. Then European Council. So council is the, as I told you, head of the states, head of the government, head of the states meet here, right? It will not legislate, again based in the Brussels. Then so these are the meet, at least 2 annual meetings should be there, and they issue guidelines and instruct the Council of Europe. Then Council of European Union, it consists of the ministers of the member state, right? So they act together with the parliament as a legislator. So legislator are 2. So Council of European Union and European Union Parliament, right? EU Parliament, right? So this is the triangular, institutional triangle I was talking about. So European Commission, that is a government, then Council of European Union and the European Parliament, right? I hope now you're getting the whole idea. Then just like CAG, they have also their own creditor general. So European Union Court of Auditors, so they will examine the revenue and expenditure. Next is central bank. So many times it is in the news. Why? Because of its monetary policy and its impact on India, right? So this is just like an RBI. They have their own central bank, European Central Bank, right? So they take care of the euro, just like inflation is taken care by the Indian rupee, inflation taken care by the RBI. Similarly, they take care of the stability of the euro. Next, Court of Justice of European Union. Just like we have Supreme Court, they have a Court of Justice. It is based in the Luxembourg. Now discuss the last part of our discussion, that is Schengen area. So Schengen area is basically, for example, if you go into the European Union and the 26 countries have made an agreement that if you enter one country, so these countries have made an agreement that if person gets a visa for the one country, or it gets the visa for the whole European Union, it can go from one place to another without any restriction, right? So they have abolished the passport and all other type of border control at their mutual borders. So if one bus or one truck is finally entered the Schengen area, then it can roam around the whole 26 country without any restrictions. That is why many travelers, when they go to the Europe, they just have to take one visa and they are done. They can visit all those 26 country on their own will, right? Now this particular area is based upon 1985 Schengen Agreement. And more importantly, who are this member? It is very interesting to see. Not all the members of the European Union are part of this. Before that, let us see what is Schengen. So Schengen is a place in the Luxembourg. Where is Luxembourg? You can see here, very small country, right? So France is here, Germany is here, then Brussels, that is Belgium, is here. Brussels is the capital of Belgium, right? So Luxembourg, very small country, and within Luxembourg, a small place is there, that is called Schengen. It is where the agreement was signed, right? So you must know small things. So that's the last slide for the day. So Schengen area, so basically Schengen area consists of 26 countries, right? Among the 26 countries, 22 countries are of European Union, and the 4 countries are out of the European Union. So how many European Union states we have? 27. Out of 27, we have 22 which are part of the Schengen area. So there are 5 countries which are not part of the Schengen area, but they are part of the European Union. So which are the countries? You can see Bulgaria, Romania, then Croatia, then Cyprus and Ireland here. Ireland is opted out, that is why it is not mentioned out of this same color. So these are the 5 countries which are not part of the Schengen area, but they are part of the European Union. Then the 4 countries which are not part of the European Union, but the part of the Schengen area, that is Iceland, right? Liechtenstein in between, Switzerland in between, Norway, you can see, and yeah, Switzerland, the 4th we have discussed, right? Iceland, Norway, Switzerland and Liechtenstein. So these are the 4 countries which is not part of the European Union, but they're part of the European Union free trade agreement. So for example, Switzerland has made free trade agreement with the European Union, though not in the European Union, because it did not want to go away with the sovereignty, but it has made a FTA with it. For example, India has made FTA with the ASEAN, like that. India is not in the ASEAN. India has made an FTA with the ASEAN, right? So with this, I hope I have made some very basic structure about the European Union very clear, because we just have to know about things, right? Some of the things. So just keep in mind the status of these 3 countries, right? So Norway, for example, it is not a member of European Union, but it is a part of the Schengen area. Switzerland is a part of the European Union, but it is not a part of Eurozone. Finland is a part of European Union as well as the part of the Eurozone, like that. So I think there are few countries which you need to keep in mind. For example, Switzerland. So what is the status of Switzerland? If they ask a tough question, they will include these countries only. Otherwise, any other country, they won't ask you about Paris, or they won't ask you about, France. They won't ask you about Germany. They'll ask you about these tough countries only. And with this, you can make some answers, right? So with this, we come to an end of our discussion, I think. Yes, we come to an end of our discussion. I have forgotten to put the revision slide. No issue. I think you all have very small institutions, only 5 institutions we have done, right? So 2 of the United Nations Specialized Agency, then Indian Ocean Naval Symposium, then Global Digital Health Partnership, and finally different institutions of the European Union, right? So please do revise and get back to me in case of the any issue. You can comment in the comment box, and we will get back to you, right? See you in the next session. Thank you, everyone.